The gasoline in your tank, the plastic in your hand, and the very structure of the modern school system you attended were all designed by a man who has been dead for nearly a century. We are currently living inside a meticulously engineered architecture of control that was finalized long before you were born. Most people believe the era of the robber barons ended with the trust busting of the early 1900s. But the reality is far more clinical. We didn't witness the destruction of a monopoly. We witnessed its evolution into a ghost. To understand why the middle class is evaporating today, we have to look back at the precise moment John D. Rockefeller decided that competition was a sin and began the process of replacing the free market with a managed global plantation. By the late 1800s, Rockefeller's Standard Oil controlled 90% of the oil refineries in the United States. His philosophy was simple but devastating. The growth of a large business is merely a survival of the fittest. However, his definition of fitness wasn't about better products, but about total logistical strangulation. He didn't just buy the oil. He bought the pipelines, the tank cars, and the politicians. When the Supreme Court ordered the breakup of Standard Oil in 1911, the public cheered, believing the giant had been slain. In truth, the breakup was the greatest financial windfall in history. The Hydra simply grew 34 new heads, creating the ancestors of what we now know as ExxonMobil, Chevron, and BP. The Rockefeller family didn't lose control. They diversified their power into the very foundations of the banking system, specifically through their massive influence over Chase National Bank and the formation of the Federal Reserve. The mechanism of this control is elegant and invisible. It relies on a concept called interlocking directorates. By placing the same set of loyalists on the boards of banks, industrial giants, and prestigious universities, the Rockefeller interests created a closed loop of influence. They funded the General Education Board with hundreds of millions of dollars, not out of charity, but to transform the American worker. As Rockefeller's advisor Frederick T. Gates famously wrote, the goal was not to make these people lawyers or scientists, but to give them perfectly ideal lives as docile laborers. They replaced the independent farmer and craftsman with the salaryman, someone who is entirely dependent on a paycheck, a corporate pension, and a debt-based currency managed by the very banks the Rockefeller family helped stabilize. This system is now reaching its mathematical limit. The global economy is currently suffocating under a mountain of debt that can never be repaid, a direct result of the fiat currency model that prioritized bank liquidity over human prosperity. When the Federal Reserve adjusts interest rates or the SWIFT system is used as a geopolitical weapon, you are seeing the levers of the Rockefeller legacy in motion. The system is designed to favor those who are closest to the point of money creation, leaving the average individual to chase an ever-inflating cost of living with stagnant wages. It is a cycle of perpetual debt where your labor is the collateral for a system you never consented to join. Escaping a century of engineered dependency requires a radical shift in how you perceive value. If the system is built on paper promises and digital entries controlled by a centralized elite, the only logical move is to migrate toward assets that have no counterparty risk. This is why the world's most powerful central banks are currently hoarding gold at record speeds. They are preparing for the failure of the very paper system they sold to the public. To secure your future, you must exit the digital cage by acquiring hard assets, whether that is physical bullion, decentralized commodities like Bitcoin, or the ultimate Rockefeller-proof asset, productive land and self-sufficiency. The system was designed to be inescapable, but it only functions as long as you provide it with your total dependence.